All right, welcome to the trading game. We're going to do a session on TradingView and just try to show you guys, a lot of the little tips, tricks, basic setups, things like that. I don't know where everybody's at. I know some of you are just starting, so I'll cover as much of the basic information as I can and try to carry it through to some of the more advanced stuff. And for people who already have or are using it, that are just wanting to learn a couple of the, setting up a template or using the object tree. So uh, the first thing I would recommend is that you load the app itself and not use the web version. If you use the web version, you're basically going to have tabs up in your browsers, and what I found is it's harder to manage, especially if you're using multiple layouts. So this is the app version, and all my layouts are going to be up here where my browser tabs would be, but it's not going to be mixed in with Twitter and everything else. It's just a lot more um, easier to use. And then also the platform itself gives you some advantages. I don't remember what all they are, but as far as using your multiple layouts and things like that, they don't work the same way. And if you're trying to sync stuff up, you're just better off using the app. It's free, so just download that. It comes up, looks exactly the same. And like I said, it's just better an option. So this is you have a couple decisions you're going to make at the beginning is what your color scheme is going to be, all of that. Once you set that up, every time you create a new layout, so I'm going to create a new layout right now. You go over here to manage layouts. And if you're just starting it out, it'll probably start off with a unnamed layout that you'll have to customize and then save as one of your layouts. So you click the new layout button right here. And no matter what you have over here, when you go to a new layout, it's going to start you off with a sort of a default screen that already has like a volume indicator. It already has your open, high, low, and close stuff up here. So from here, and this is every time, but once you set up your main layout, like this is mine, it's called trading. Everything I do is in trading, and I use a separate one for maybe some back testing and maybe another one for some miscellaneous stuff. That I want to have a different layout, not so much set up for what I trade on. So I might backtest on something different because of indicators, because of who knows what. And I also don't want my drawings on my testing stuff to be showing up and present on my trading screen. So that's the reason for different layouts. So we're going to try to set you up with just the trading screen to start off with, and then we'll add a layout to it to just show you what the difference is and how you can use that. So I'm watching the chat, so if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a question. This is really all about you guys getting information. So what you don't know is what you need to be asking me while we have this going on. I'll stop and explain things, and because I'm just going to show you what I think is important, but what's important to you, you need to ask. Don't wait for me to hope I get to it. If you've got questions about TradingView, this is your time for me to try to answer them or make a note and try to get you an answer. All right, so here's your unnamed layout. It's just like I say, it starts you off at a very basic place. I'm in the light layout, so it's going to give me a light screen. App is free, but we still have to pay for data. Yeah, no matter what, you're going to have to pay for data, and it's like $5. I don't know, $5, $12. A couple different ones I pay, but it's very inexpensive, and you can't trade without it. So whether you're using a broker and their platform, you get your data through them. If you're just using TradingView, you can't trade through TradingView. You have to connect to a broker. But some people use TradingView just to chart on, like I do, and I have a broker also, but I still have to pay. So I'm paying double data fees basically, but that's fine. Okay, so this is an ugly color, and has an indicator that I don't want. So some of your indicators will show up here under this little arrow. So I'm going to add an indicator real quick. I'm going to add just a moving average. Every indicator you add shows up over here. You can have a list of 10 of them, and you can collapse that. Every time I add one, see how it puts something over there? I'm adding another one. So I've got all these indicators over here now. And you can set them to, well, this is the best way to do it. You can set them where it puts a lot more information out here, but it ends up coming way out here and you don't really need it. So this is what you want. If this isn't what you have, then we'll have to go down, and right here is the indicators information. Basically, if you want to put all the indicator information there, you can select values, titles, arguments, and then it stretches it all the way across your screen. So all I need is to know what indicators I have here. So I uncheck values and I uncheck arguments, and that way all I have is my titles. And when I need it, if I want to go into setup on any one of them, I can click the gear icon next to that one and it'll bring up that particular indicator setup. So you can also double click on it on the chart and it'll bring up your same configuration menu. So what you use for indicators is going to be completely up to you. Like, I don't really use Drib anymore. I don't use this one. I don't use this one. This is a nice session indicator if you want to see your days and divided by, you know, previous days close or open, current days close, whatever. And then on a Sunday, it gives you a weekly line to tell you that this was the beginning of the week. So as you start adding and using different indicators, some of them come with multiple functions. So I have one now that gives me this similar information. So I don't necessarily use this particular indicator anymore. The other indicator that I use gives me what I need as far as days and stuff. So we'll go with, well, I'll load the sessions indicator that I actually use. Sessions, range, highs and lows. And we'll turn it off. You can also use the little eye. A lot of times, you know, you can turn stuff off up here, but you're not deleting it. You're just, right? If you want a different look at the screen or something, you want to use a different indicator, and this one's kind of giving you conflicting, you know, information, just turn it off. So this one gives me what I need as far as sessions and things like that, and it's got a lot of stuff built into it that we can talk about later. But I'm just trying to show you indicators in general and how to manage indicators. So we would start with, you know, we get rid of the stuff we don't want first. Like, it's going to give you the volume. If you don't use the volume, go up there and hit the little thing. There's other indicators, and we don't use a lot of these, but you guys might have them. And, you know, if you are using them, that's fine. Everybody, you know, do you. But they'll put them in a different place, and it's a little bit different to configure. So like the relative strength index, it puts it down here. And it gives you your setup and your visibility and everything down here instead of up here. So like the RSI, the MACD, there's tons of different type of indicators that's going to want to put it down here for you. But this is pretty much the same here. You can still click on the arguments, values, all that if you want to see the actual, like the RSI numbers, the values themselves as you're moving your ticker across. And I used to use this a lot. And I would use those numbers, you know, and I do different kinds of things with it. But anymore, I don't use the RSI anymore. But like I said, that's how you kind of get all the information down to just a very little bit right here. So you're not clogging up your screen with a bunch of stuff that's confusing you. And you get rid of it the same way. You just click the X and it goes away. So we'll get our colors kind of down. We'll go through the settings. When you click on settings in an open place, anything you right click on, depending on what it's on, it will give you a different menu here. So if you're going to want to do general trade screen stuff, you want to be in a blank spot somewhere and go to your settings, and it gives you this window here. Okay. Logo, title. Okay, again, so the title is all this up here, which when I started I had all this on here, but as I recognized the need for real estate on my charts and confusion, I got rid of a lot of stuff. So now it's sort of bare bones, just what I need. But if that helps you to have that up there, then this is where you would put the title up there. And you can do just the ticker and description, etc. The OHLC values are these up here: open, high, low, and close. Anywhere your cursor is on whatever candle you're on, or if it's on no candle, it'll be the last candle. So if I don't have my candle on a cursor, this information right here is showing you open, high, and low, close of this candle right here. See, if I move to that, it stays the same. But if I go to the one just before it, everything changes. So this is handy for, you know, there's a lot of times you're going to want to know what the actual levels are, and this is just how you would do it. So you can also turn that off and on right here. If you right click on it, you're kind of still in the same area of setup for this information line up here. So if you don't want to see those, you can turn them off. If you want to see the volume, here's where you do it, and it'll give you volume right here. This is also handy for, I measure sometimes the strength of a session by looking at the first few candles that are open and see how many shares have traded. So that's one thing I'll use the volume for. When you're switching from one contract to another, you need to know if the newest contract has higher volume than the older contract. You would use the volume, and that's really about it as far as just the numbers. There's bars that people use to make trading on, trading decisions based on different levels of volume and things like that. Okay, yeah, the magical crossover. I used to use that. And it worked when it worked, and it just didn't work when it didn't work. And I never knew, I didn't have any idea what the difference was going to be. So you can turn these arguments on and off for the stuff up here the same way as you would up here. This is just another way to do it, to add the values and the arguments for all that. Background. I don't really have a background. So we'll get to colors and stuff. So if we go to symbols, this is where you change your candle colors. Like I like green and black on a light screen. So I'll just go over here and click and go to black. I want all black. All black. Okay, now I've got my, and you can change the opacity on it if I don't want it as dark of a color or something, or as far as how it reacts with other colors, you can change your opacity here. So on my light screen, and I'll show you when I go to make a fair value gap, I have to make sure that my opacity is right so that it doesn't block out the candles or, interfere with other PD arrays in a way that makes it just confusing. So that's something you kind of got to play with. The only price line I use is the last price line, which is this one right here. It shows you what the current price is. If you start adding all these other price lines, most of the indicators already have these in them, and then you're just doubling your, too many lines on the chart is a bad thing. And you saw mine, I've already got a lot of stuff on there. It's more than I want, but it's all that I need. So, I can turn some of them off and on to clutter, make it less cluttered if I want to, but anywhere you get an opportunity to take lines off of your chart that you didn't need, go ahead and do that. So I don't need the bid and ask, I don't need the high and low, and I don't need that. Okay, you have two different session trading periods that you can choose from. You can also choose them down here, right where it says ETH. This is your electronic trading hours, and your other one is regular trading hours. The only difference is the regular trading hours are the New York PM session, or the New York AM PM session. So starts at 9:30. Goes to 1600. Goes to 9:30. Goes to 1600. 9:30, 1600. There's no Asia or London when you look at it in the regular trading hours. And there's uses for this. This is mostly for people who trade, stocks. They don't trade overnight. If they don't have pre-market, post-market stuff in there, they just want to see, the session that they trade, they'll switch this over to regular trading hours. But if you're trading futures or Forex, you definitely want this on electronic trading hours. And that fills in the gaps. And you can also, it's good to be aware of these gaps because they're tradable. A lot of times when the gaps are created, you'll notice they come back and they get filled. It's almost like its own little PD array. Look at this one. It gapped down and immediately traded back up through the gap. This gap down took a while, but the gap will be filled. It's just like any other PD array. The new week opening gaps are similar to this. These are daily gaps, but people do chart these. People do use them. They act as magnets for price at some point. And when you're in the area and you see one, like this one got gapped immediately and then filled before, look at, price wanted to go up here, but it had to come fill this gap first. So it traded up a little bit, came down, filled this gap, then took off. And there's a pattern of that if you watch. Sometimes it's immediate. Sometimes it takes a while, But like I said, as price is coming down here, and I'm thinking, do I want to go long or short? And I've got other confluences telling me a short might be good, and I look and I see a gap here too. It's not something I'm going to trade by itself, but it might be that extra 10% that says, yes, I've got everything I need to take a position here. So gaps are still valuable. This one here, big gap down, filled it right up. Okay. Any questions on any of this? Alrighty, I'll just keep kind of motoring through. Alright, so we're back on electronic trading hours. We're looking at our basic chart menu and our separations for that. So this is symbol, colors, things like that. These things, you want to be on UTC -4. That's for New York. And whether we're trading it or we're talking about it, everything is New York. So if you see time referenced, there's a good chance it's on that time frame. So especially if we're talking about price or talking about events, things like that, we go by New York time. All right, status line, we covered that. That's most of the stuff up here. Scales. All of this I pretty much just leave as blank. I mean, I don't like the symbol name on my thing over here. I know what symbol I'm on, and I don't need it cluttered up because I have information posted over here on other lines, so I get rid of that. The last price, that's really all I want to see is what the last price was. And you'll just have to go through. As I click these, you can see things pop up over here in the scale, because this is this price scale over here. This is how you make adjustments to that. It can put the high and the low for you again. Indicators, that's not doing anything. So indicators, no overlapping. Countdown to bar close, I like that. It gives you a little ticker for whatever time frame you're on, and it'll start counting down every time there's a new candle, which is especially important on the lower time frames when you're on a minute candle or something like that, and you're waiting to see if a level is going to hold or something. Sometimes that next candle, what it does is real important. So having that on there is a good deal. The other stuff, like I say, it was all default for me. Plus button, don't know. We're on 24-hour format. Okay, so canvas. This is our canvas right here. You can change your background of your canvas. Let me cancel that and go back to my original one to see which one I'm on. On the second one. Okay. So if you like a light screen, you can do, this. If you like a dark screen, you can do that. Whatever you do, I started with dark and ended up going to light. The light's better for me now. So for the sake of consistency, also with all the people I'm dealing with, most of them are on light screen, so I went with that, and I do like it better. You can choose to have the grid lines on the chart, and then you have to give them a color and change the opacity. Okay. So these are basically for give you a sense of perspective on where you are on the charts by time. So the farther you spread it out, like this is an hour, these are hour time frames now. I don't use the grid lines anymore because I have so many other lines and other things on the charts that for me it's just not, I don't need them. They're not telling me anything that I'm not going to get from one of my indicators, so I don't use them. But if you are going to use them, and you can configure them, with your colors right here, change your opacity. You can set this up to do just about whatever, whatever you want to do. With your crosshair, same thing. Styles, colors. Turn off the grid lines. The watermark tells you what instrument you're trading. I used to use it, but I only trade one instrument pretty much right now, and it's just more stuff on the chart. So some people use it, that's fine. Text, lines, all the things that make up your canvas here. If you want green text, you can make green text. It's all customizable for whatever your display purposes are. Margins, I guess that's the amount of space up here. I just leave all that as default. Okay, trading. If you're trading through a broker and you're using TradingView to enter and exit your positions, you can click on these executions and execution labels down here, and it will show you with a little arrow where you went in and where you got out. And if you put the labels on there, then it gives you like price information, things like that. So depending on how you're, how you're interacting with the market depends on whether or not you want to see that or not. I saw, let's see, instant order placement is this one. So, well, we can't do it. We're not live, so I can't place any orders. Basically, what that does is instant order placement will put a couple boxes up here for a buy and a sell. And instead of having to go over here to the order panel, you can just click buy or sell over here on your canvas. So, which version do you recommend on the TradingView? I went with premium because I did want to make sure there wasn't nothing I needed that I didn't have. So I don't know if I'm sure the one in the middle is probably good, but I know once you start talking about the free or the essential, you can't go back very far. They don't give you as many indicators. You don't have as many layouts that you can use at the same time. So, they find ways like that to limit you. And there's a comparison bar, like a little bar chart that shows the comparison of what's available on each. And maybe start with the middle one, and if you run into something you need that you want, or want that you need, you can flip over to the premium. I think I just paid like $200 for a year on it. They gave me a big 70% off discount or something. So for now, anyway, that's what I'm going to go with. And like I said, TradingView is like a weapon in trading. And there's a lot you can do with it that you can't do with other platforms. So even though I'm going into the market through Tradevate, 90% of my actual charting until I hit the buy button is over here. And then I'm still looking at this one as I'm managing the trade and making my corrections over on the other one. Yeah, true. They do have sales. Catch one of those. And somebody found a discount link that's just always out there that you can maybe grab too. So he got 70% off with, after he'd already been owning it for a while. Events, session breaks, so that gives me 1830 to 1830, so 630 to 630. Yeah, I'm not sure what that pertains to, but I pretty much left that all up here. Your futures contract expiration, you'll get a little icon down here that tells you the futures contract that you're on is coming up on expiration. And when that happens, like this one, it expired, I think the expiration date was the 15th, but you get time up to that point where while they're switching over, you'll see the date that you have to be switched over by, and then prior to that, you start looking at the volume changes. When one contract starts getting more volume than the older contract, that's when you switch over. So okay, that's all of that. No, I didn't want those lines. Oh, I can't even get rid of them now. Trading. Yes. Get the volume again. Well, how did I put the grid lines on there and now I can't even see where they are? I got no grid lines, none. There we go. Okay. All right. Sometimes you'll run into a situation, and if you don't know how to do this, it's really frustrating. Like I want to arrange my chart. I want to get it, synced up with the size that I want or whatever. All I can do right now is push it side to side, and no up and down. if you just go over here and hit your mouse wheel one time, it will then let you do whatever you want to do. I don't know why it is like that, but if you get stuck and it won't do anything, just go over here and expand or shrink this window over here. And once you do that, when you get back on the chart, then anything goes as far as, you know, your stuff. So, all right, let's cover time frames real quick. So up here, you have your time frames that are available. If you down click right there, you're allowed to favorite them. I'm gonna actually leave that on there. That's been coming in handy lately. So you pick the time frames that you want to use most, and you put a star by it. And then when you get done, those will be up here. And it's quicker than having to go through here and try to find it and sort it out. So I use a lot of these just for reference. I mean, I have these charted, so I don't really even use this anymore. Once I set my custom layouts up with the charts that I want, I'm very rarely in here. Unless, for instance, I'm on the 1 minute chart and it's moving really, really fast, and I think I might be able to get an entry on the 30-second that I wouldn't see on the 1 minute. That's the only reason I would switch to that. I'm not doing any analysis with it. That's just an entry, time frame for entry only. And the rest of them are, I see a fair value gap on a 5 minute. I'd like to narrow it down a little bit. I wonder if it's on the 2 minute. And then I switch to the 2 minute, look at that same area of price, see if I can identify a smaller fair value gap inside the 5 minute fair value gap, or see if one presented itself. But as far as just straight charting and looking at higher time frames for putting together trade plans, I use the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the 30, the hour, the 4 hour, the day, the week. And I think I have one for the month, but I don't have it favorited. I don't even need to really favorite the week one. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So that's this up here. Up here is where you find your whatever asset or instrument you're trying to trade. So it brings up this window here. What I do is I get them set up. I haven't used this in months because I have them set up over here, and we're going to get to that in a second, but that's what that's for. I guess let's go to that first. Let's get everything else set up, and then we'll go into the charting itself. So candles, everybody should just be on candles. These other things, people use them for different stuff, but honestly, start with candles. Indicators, we kind of covered that. This shows you the indicators that you have favorited, the same way with the time frames. When you pick an indicator, you pick it by starring it, and then when you go over here, it shows you what you have picked, and you can select it from here. So if I wanted a new indicator, I would just type up here, volume, and it shows me which ones I have, but then it also shows all the options for different indicators. So there's plenty of indicators here for volume. Plenty of volume indicators. Tons of volume indicators. How many volume indicators do you want? Right? So, is there even a bottom to the list? Oh, it's scrolling through it. Okay. Oh, no, it's not. These are all separate volume indicators. So here's one way you can really get sidetracked is indicator-itis. And I've spent way too much time looking for the golden goose indicator. Just stop. Just stop the madness. All right? It's not out there. Leave it alone. But that's how you would pick one. If you want to pick it for the day, you would just select it here. If you want it in your favorites, you would select it over here. And then these sort of narrow them down by certain, segments or categories, technical stuff, strategies. You can load these strategies in TradingView and play them out. Profiles. There's candle patterns, all of this stuff. But I don't encourage you to get into all this. Financials, I haven't really used this much. This is more of a stock fundamentalist type approach. Community scripts, if you want to see what the biggest picking, top trending, the squeeze momentum indicator, I used to use that like crazy. I don't know if it worked or not, but everybody else was using it, so I loaded it up. Super trend stuff, what's trending. Yeah, there's a lot of catchy names, and there's a lot of ways to pull you away from the most basic approaches to trading, which is price action, momentum or volume, and structure. And you can see that on the chart, and if you learn it on the chart, you'll be miles ahead of all of this. You really will. So that can save you some time. Okay, indicators, alerts. Let's get the chart set up first, and we'll talk about alerts and replay. So I'm on a 5-minute chart. Then over here is where you have your watch list. And then to the side here, there's some other icons that will use the same space to display information. You can slide these up to look at a lot of different stuff. Don't use it. But say I want to add, you know, if you want to build this over here, if you don't already have it, you do that by clicking plus, and it brings you up to an add symbol screen. Say I want to add, right now I don't have NQ minis. So I know the ticker name for it is MNQ. And if I didn't even know, I could say micro NAS, and it would bring me right to the E-mini NASDAQ micro futures. So if you know the ticker, you can use that. MNQ takes me to the same place, micro 100 index futures. And then I want the contract month that I'm in, which is Z. You can use this one, which is a continuous contract, but then when it's time to switch, you know, you have to get away from it for a couple weeks for the charts to kind of sync up. I don't understand it completely. I just noticed the difference and realized that it's kind of a problem for me. So now I'm going to be on the current contract. I'll use my separate layout to load the MNQ1 if I want to go back 6 months on a time frame and backtest something. Well, obviously this contract wasn't in existence 6 months ago. There was no trading on it, so you can only go back to the beginning of that contract. So for backtesting purposes, the continuous contracts are advantageous, beneficial, and this is what you want to actually chart on and enter on. So I'll click the little color, and you have a red list over there where anything you read or click for red will show up down here at the bottom of the list. So now I can move my MNQ up to under my NQ. Now I have my NASDAQ minis and I have my NASDAQ micros. Same thing here. I've got my ES minis, I've got my ES micros, and I've got continuous contracts up here for either one. When I want to switch to backtest something, I just select this one. The price will be different, but the price action will be the same. So, you know, it serves its purpose for looking for a fair value gap that was inside of a breaker block or whatever. So that's what this is kind of for. And then you can change this stuff by, haven't done it in a while, give me a minute. Change, sort, menu, no. Right here. So customize your columns. When I used to do stocks, I needed to know, I wanted to see what the price was moving, the percentages, the volumes, all that stuff. So if you put it all in there, you know, then what you end up with is this, you need this much screen room to see all your stuff. Well, I don't really, the change percentage is all I'm interested in anymore. So, you know, I just get rid of everything else. I want to know up or down and what percentage, and that's it. But for you, if you want to know the volume, you can put it over there. You can see the volume. If I want the volume, I'll put it right up here with my thing. It's the same thing. That's traded volume. This is candle volume. So candle volume is more useful to me. And then you can just play around with this. You can create a new list. You can delete old lists. Like I have stocks, basically just stocks and what I trade. I used to have crypto, you know, a section for crypto, a section for this, section for that. But as futures and forex traders, as most of us are, this is, you know, you're not going to need that much. But you want to have it on here just for quick reference when you need to switch from one to the other or whatever. This is a handy way to do it. And I need to put my symbol back. Well, I didn't have it ordered that way, but I'll fix it later. Okay, so this is alerts also over here. This shows you the alerts you have. You can set alerts for places where price, you know, the level is hit, and it'll send you a text, an email. Can I get rid of all of these? Yes. Okay, whatever. I'm not worried about that now. Yeah, if you want to know, you know, yesterday's high or something, you can go up here and do a alert, and it'll say add alert, and then it'll ask you for, you know, some kind of an information here. Do you want it only once? Do you want it if it's crossing up, crossing down, just crossing in general? Put the price point and test. You don't even need to put an alert name in there, I don't think. Leave it open-ended alert and hit create, and it will put a little line right up here with a little arrow on it, and it shows you this is your test. So when price hits that, you'll get a text or an email or whatever, however you have it set up. And then that also shows up over here as an active alert. So if you're ever wondering if you're on different charts, different instruments, and you've got alerts all out there going off on you and you don't know which one it is or how to get rid of it, you come over here to alerts and it'll show you all your active alerts, and from there you can go in and edit, stop, remove, whatever. So the little alarm clock is alerts. Any questions so far? Alrighty. Lines and stuff. So over here on this little star is your favorites bar. If you click that, then everything you favorite shows up on this little floatable window. This is handy for charting. And I've started it up here, I tried it up here, and I found out that for me it just works really good right there. So what you put on there is going to be up to you as far as what's convenient, what's handy. You have to go through all of this stuff over here. Here's where you find all your different drawing tools, and when you star one of them, it puts it down here on your favorites bar. So that's pretty basic, but as far as what they are, I'll go over just a few of them. These are some you're definitely going to want if you're if we're all trading sort of similarly. The long position tool is this one, and it's called a long position tool because the green is going to be on top. They don't have one that you just flip. So if you're going long and you want to see your position tool, you use the long position tool, and that's going to be just have to find it. I don't see it there. Geometric shapes. Okay, so it's on this one right here, projection. Here's your long position, short position. I wouldn't worry about anchored VWAP. I don't even know why I still have that on there, but if you pick those, put the little star on, then they'll show up down here. So this is the short position. It's just the opposite. Green is on the bottom, stop loss on top, what have you. Don't really use this much, you know, for just writing or whatever. It's that one right there. You got a back button up here too, which is real handy. Most of you probably didn't know about that one, but if you just want to get rid of something. Here's the fib, and that's probably in projection also, or did I see it in drawing? Yeah, Fibonacci. So tons of different Fibonacci's, Gann boxes, fans, all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't recommend diving into just yet. Try it the easy way first, and so that's where your fib is. So for anything you want to configure, once you figure out what you want, I mean, there's different ways to make a line. You can make a line that you control the length of, like that, or if I just want a line across the whole chart, that's this one. Here's an up and down line, same thing, just an up and down line. Here's a ray if you're trying to just mark a point and you don't want it coming back through here. That's what that is, the ray. Path tool is a lot for just trying to show people, you know, market structure breaks and, you know, things like that. You'll see them a lot in your YouTube videos and stuff. They use the path tool to show you that stuff. Here's an arrow. You know, if you're charting and you're trying to break down your trades and you're trying to bring attention to something, you know, you want to use the arrow. Here's the anchored note that I like. Make my little note. So if I can't remember that, I make a little anchored note. I put it up here. It goes away when you click off of it. You can look at the note. You can make the note stay there by clicking on it. or otherwise it's just a mouse hover. If you want it to stay there, just click on it, and then you can go do other stuff. So this is great for your trade rules, your reminders, stuff that you've journaled, anything up here in a note that you feel is beneficial to you while you're trading to have up there, especially rules and stuff. That's a great way. And then it doesn't move when your chart moves. If you just put a text note up there, as soon as you move your chart, then that disappears. You can make anything disappear by clicking on your mouse button, and it will get rid of it. That way you don't have to right click deletes, just mouse button and it goes away. No questions? Doing good? All right. And for screen size, I like to keep this closed. Very rarely, occasionally, I'll check to see what these are doing. And all I look for is, are they green or red? I want to know up and down. I'm getting ready to go long. Is the market, in general, long? Some of these have some other purposes, and as you go farther down the road, you'll find them and you'll know how to add them to your thing here. But for screen space, I want it like that. Some other stuff that's over here. Here's a measuring tool. This little ruler. If I want to measure that move was 7 bars, 17 points. So, and it'll carry time too if you need to know how many bars across something was. 293 bars. This is good for back testing a lot. We use this just to measure different things. I want to see how big this fair value gap is, because I'm getting data on the different actions or interactions of price when I have a big fair value gap versus a little fair value gap. I'm just use that little tool, and it tells me that's a 2.25 fair value gap. My TV keeps cloning everything I do. So if I select a line, so that's probably over here somewhere. Here's some different ways to stay in drawing mode, where if I make a line, I can accidentally make a bunch of lines just by clicking, and I didn't mean to. I just want one line, then I would have to click this, click that, and it just gives me one line. So if you've got that locked, every time you click a button, whatever you have selected down here, it's going to give you. So everything over here, I don't even know why this one's open. New drawings will sync. Okay, yeah, so I like that. That's the only one I use. New lines will sync in layout. Oh, you got it? Okay, right on. And then backwards, just get rid of everything. And it's handy sometimes, like if I'm using the drawing tool a lot, I want to lock it so that I can make a drawing, make a drawing, make a drawing. If it's not locked, then every time I want to do a drawing, I have to go over there and click it. Right? Because it won't do it again when so just kind of the mode you're in, just as a rule, if everything's blank, you're probably okay. But if you are wanting to use these other things, this one will make your drawing snap to the closest candle. You won't have stuff in the middle. It kind of just moves for you if you get close to it, it snaps to it. So magnifier. I don't ever use it just because it's so easy to magnify the screen with my mouse, so I don't use the magnifier. This locks your drawing tool, so if you have, say, a line on here, you don't want it to move, it can't be moved. Once you unlock it, then you can move the line. But a lot of that you can do through the object tree, which I'm going to show you. You can lock individual drawings, or you can lock groups of drawings, which is Adam's real good with that, ICT Kraken. And we'll get to that here in a minute. What is this one? So suppose you want to just hide all your drawings, but you don't want to delete them. You would just do that right here. You can hide indicators, hide whatever you want to hide that's on the chart at any given time. But you can also do that with the object tree. So I don't really use this. Okay. I guess it was totally annoying. Yeah, I know. I'll know right away when I accidentally leave that thing on, and it's duplicating my drawings. I'm like, quit that. All right, so the other thing would be, I guess, kind of making your boxes and your lines and then creating templates for them. But before we do that, let's create this layout. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call this our test. We're going to call this our stream layout. Okay. So right now I've got one screen right here. Say I want to, I want to put two time frames next to each other. So within this stream layout, I can make this many different layouts within this stream tab. So if I want a side by side, I would click here, and you have some abilities to customize this stuff. Like, I like the symbol to be the same, so I'm always looking at the same symbol on both. If you're trading NQ and ES, if you don't have this synced up, you can be on one. You went to check for SMT or something and you forgot to change it back, and now your 1 minute is on MES and your 5 minute is on NQ. And if you're not paying attention, I mean, like I said, I generally don't use symbol title even, but since it's easy for me because I'm just trading the one. So, and that's why some people will also use the watermarks, right? Pretty clear, tells you what you're on. I mean, if you make a couple mistakes because you're on the wrong one, you might want to use that, but then get rid of it as soon as you're used to doing it that way. So the box that you're actually working in is going to be highlighted. So if I switch over here, and it doesn't give you much difference because this line is just basically, shifting over a little bit. But wherever you're clicking, that's where you're going to be working. You can view either by this information here. If I run my candle over this one, it's giving me the information in this box. If I run my candle over here, I'm getting the information in this box. But if I wanted to place a line on one of these boxes, I need to know ahead of time I need to be in this box first. So I'd click this box, and then my line will come up. Like if I do that over here, if I'm on this box and I place my line, I guess, okay, it will anticipate that that's what you want to do apparently. But there's a lot of things you need to do to just make sure you're clicked in the right box before you can do it. So right now they're both on 5 minute time frames. So the idea behind this is to use other higher time frames, all kinds of different screens. If you want to watch NQ next to ES, you can do that here. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to show you how to use the different time frames right now. So now I've got a 15 minute, let's go to an hour. All right, so now I'm looking at days, and say I want to put the day week separator on this one. Yeah, it's not very clear because I don't even like this one anymore. We don't even need it. So hourly, 5 minute. When you switch from one to the other, this is the hour, this is the 5 minute. Say I want to draw out a fair value gap on the hourly chart, and then I want to zoom down in to see how price reacted to it on the 1 minute chart. Let me find a good example for this. Here's one. No, it didn't make a fair value gap. Okay. Okay, so that's on the. That's too far back. You can't go that far back on the minute, so it's not worth fooling with. This price action is just so crappy in here. I'm trying to find a good example. Here's one right here. Okay. Now if I go back far enough here, I should run into a blue box if I have it synced. Sync, yes, interval crosshair. Yep. Okay. This started on the 13th. So there's my blue box. Okay. I drew it on the hourly, and this is the advantage of having a synced layout. Is what we want to do is we want to see, like, we place that box at the fair value gap was completed, 2100, and we want to see what price happens when it dips back into it. And then the window that you're on, if you come over here, you can expand just that window by clicking these little double arrows, and it gives you the full hourly window, and then you can get back to your split. You could go back up here and make it a single again, but it's just not as good. I don't think. I like just coming down here, clicking that. I got my full hourly view. And sometimes I'll have 5 different time frames going, and if I just want to look at this little square, I'll click in it, and I'll come over here and click in it, and it expands it for me, and then I can just click it back down, and I'm back to where I was. And a good example of that would be right here. Well, that's what I said. Yeah, this is sort of normally how I would look at my 5 different time frames. So if I want to see just the 30-minute, I would outline the 30-minute, expand the 30-minute, and now I'm just looking at the 30-minute window. And to put it back, you just do that, and then everything's back like you had it. Okay, so this is good for, you draw out your hourly fair value gap, and price is up here, it's doing all this, and you're watching, and lo and behold, it taps back into this fair value gap, and you get this reaction. So having it drawn out on the hourly, they're really easy to find on the hourly, but you can't look at a minute chart and find an hourly fair value gap. The way time works, you'd never spot it, but it's still important. It's very relevant. So you can have it drawn on the hourly and wait for price to come in here. Well, something's going to happen here, but all you're seeing is the wick slowly go up and slowly go down. Well, in that time period, you've got all this action right here. That wick, basically, or any wick, can be, depending on how long of the hour it took to make that move, can be up to 60 of these candles that are on the minute time frame. Or these are the 5-minute. So 12 of them, 12 candles for the hour. And that's this little space right here, somewhere in here, created an hourly fair value gap. Well, anytime you're in a higher time frame and you zoom into a lower time frame, if you found a fair value gap here, you're going to find fair value gaps here. Time is fractal approach, according to ICT. Whatever's happening on one is being displayed on smaller ones as well, just with more detail. You can't place a stop as easily on an hourly time frame as I could right here because I have these boundaries. I can get the consequent encroachment easier. I can see what price is doing actually as it comes down. That wick doesn't tell you anything, but inside that wick they had this big push up, big push down, things like that. So having it sync just means that you can do one thing on a higher time frame and have it show up on your other time frame, and you don't have to draw it twice. The idea is to simplify your trading as much as possible. Like I like to have the 5-minute open for a little broader view of what's going on, because I can go back to session highs and lows usually on the 5-minute, but my actual trading is going to be on the 1-minute. So for me, this works really well. Having these two, this is all I'm watching, constantly, but then I reference the higher time frame stuff. And by having a sync layout at any time, all I have to do is just switch. Did I pick the right one? No, I didn't. I want 3 and 2. 3 and 2, 3 and 2. There we go. Like that. Yeah, so trading on this, but referencing this, and I have this open on another monitor also, but I keep this easy to move into my screen or use on the screen that I'm streaming on. So you can put as many as you want up here. You can sync different things. If you sync everything, they basically move together, which is handy too. But what will happen is if you have different time frames, like these are both 5 minutes now because I have interval synced. This would be good for like moving between NASDAQ and NQ, but not NQ and NQ. Day range and time. Definitely interval. It just depends on what you're going to use it for. When you expand this one, it doesn't expand this one, but because this is a much smaller time frame, But when you expand this one on the hourly, it stretches your minute way out. So that's what I found kind of makes it hard for me to use it. So I usually just go with the interval or the symbol, and everything else I'll manipulate myself. If you want to put 3 of them, you can do the same thing. You put all your several time frames on one, or you can leave this off here, and you can put different instruments on. You could be watching oil, gold, NASDAQ, you know, a lot of flexibility, a lot of different things you can do. It's up for you to kind of mix and match this stuff together to see how you're going to want to use it. But this is the ways I'm showing you just where the tools are and how to use them, sort of. Okay, so I want to go back to just the one screen, and we're going to talk about some drawing stuff now. So I made this blue box, and a lot of times it will just, whatever the last color was that you used on a box, it remembers the last color. So that's why, you know, there's no standard for it. But what you can do is you can create these templates. Every time you get a click on something to where it's displaying that it's selected, you'll get this bar up here, okay? If you click off of the thing, then it disappears, but you always get the option to click on it and bring up the bar. This is the configuration bar for whatever drawing item you have. So here's where your templates are, here's where you save it, and here's where you can go back to default. So once you create something, whether it's a box or a ray or a, what else? I'm trying to find a good one that's configurable. Or just a line, you know. So we got our ray, our line, and our box. This is what most of us use. So anything you click on here and select, you'll get the bar up here, or you can double click on it and it will bring you the bar up and the ability to customize it and change the settings. So that's usually what I do. So if I want to change settings on this, you've got your style of the item itself, which is the color of the line. You can put the coordinates in there if you're trying to get precise, like on a weekly chart, and it won't give you enough sensitivity to get down to a certain tick. You can type the ticks in there. I wouldn't worry about visibility or coordinates. Text and style is all you're really going to need. So that's the color that you're on. Here's the opacity, and here's the line thickness. So you pick one of those. Usually opacity, you know, for lines is going to be 100, but change your colors. Say I want a just a green ray. I want it to be double sized and 100% opacity. Do I want a price label on it? If you put a price label on it, then it will, it looks like it does that regardless. I think anything you put on there will show the level based on what you have your scale settings on. So, and then for the text, if I'm going to write text on that line, this is a test, then you get also your ability to change the colors for the text and the placement. So right now it's in the middle center. If I want to put it top left, it'll move it here. So some people like all their stuff over here, some people want it over here. All that's for you to configure. This is the way you do it. So you just create a regular line off your chart, double click on it, or just use this stuff up here. I use them both. I mean, that's the color of the line, that's the size of the line, style of the line. Do you want to put an alert on the line? You can. Everything that's available there is also available when you double click on it, except maybe the alert portion. So say I want to save this line, okay? Right click, and it's template. So save this line. I'm going to add something to it. This is going to be my previous day high. Okay. instead of making this colored line with this text mark on it all the time separately, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to create a template. I'm going to say save as previous day hi. So now when I want to create that line, I just go up and it's gonna give me probably the same color, but I would just go there, then go to my templates and click previous day high. And that's a lot faster than, you know, taking the extra steps to make the line, go in and type the text. It's real handy for stuff that has a lot of text and a lot of detail. Same thing with a box. So if I want to make this box let's edit the box. Same thing, you get style and text. Don't worry about these. Here's my border color. Here's my background color. You can make it to where it'll extend. Before I had certain indicators, I would use this as an extended when I was drawing them in, so that I wouldn't have to draw them in again and keep, you know, or keep moving it, keep stretching the box. Now that I have the indicators to do it, I don't use the extension so much. So every box is just a regular box, but you could extend left, you can extend right. Same thing, pick your color, pick your opacity. Here the opacity is a little bit more important because often they're overlaid over other things. And if I make the opacity on this box too dark, right, too light, so you have to find for you what your happy place is. And this is why the template is a good idea, because I can put that right there. That works for me. You can save also from here on this template drop down from your configuration box. They all have that same thing too. And you can do save as, test box, save, okay. I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some text to it now. This is a test box. Same thing now with the, you know, you can make your text colors whatever you want for that. That's ugly. There. Change your sizes. Just anything you would, you know, want to do for the fonts, things like that, or to the text itself. So now that I made a change, if I want to save that, I have to go back and do save as again and do the drop down, and it'll already be in there. So I would go down to my test box. I want to save over that. It's going to ask me if I want to. I'm going to say yes. Okay. So now, say this is just for a certain, say this is your fair value gap box or something, and it's already got your fair value gap information in here, or whatever you want to annotate. You go down here, you draw a box. You just go up here, find your test box, and you move on, right? There's no separate recalibrating your box, borders, colors, opacity, retyping the text, reconfiguring the text, all of that. So that's a good way to, you know, as you're charting, and you're going to be doing a lot of charting, you should be. If this stuff, if you don't find that you're using it, then you need to, you know, ask yourself why, because this stuff is important to be recognizing and mapping things out in your spare time so that you can find it in live time. So this is just an easiest way to make that less cumbersome, I guess. And if we put some lines and stuff out here, I'm going to make some just fake boxes real quick. We'll do a new week opening gap. Okay. Like I would have the kind of the title of the box, and if it's date specific, you can put the date in there for your lines, like Adam does with his new week opening gaps. He's got lines on them with prices, things like that. So now you have this situation where you start running into a lot of different annotations in the chart, doing a lot of things. You're trying to keep track of different sessions, different times. You got different PD arrays, different notes. Okay, so we got a couple of these, got a couple boxes, got a few lines. Say you want to turn it all off at once, but you don't want to delete it. You can do it here with hide drawing tools. Right, that'll get rid of it. But say I only want to get rid of the new week opening gaps, but I want to keep the rest. Well, you can't do that with this. So this is a more robust tool over here to let you control all your drawings and stuff. So I want to unhide. There we go. So all these things that you, pretty much everything that's a part of your charting is going to be over here, even if it's indicators. So if I put an indicator over here, it's going to show up over here. So you've got indicators, lines, boxes, lines, notes, and then your charting, your whatever your ticker is. How you set this up is completely up to you. So you got to find what works for you as far as grouping and categorizing. But once you get it set up, it's really nice. So what I do is I put all my icon or all my indicators up under there, and then I create groups. So I'm going to have a group for miscellaneous stuff. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to tell it create a group. It creates the group and puts it in it. Then you rename the group. I'm going to call this MISC for miscellaneous. Anything I want that's miscellaneous is going to go in that group. And now I have a group in these same categories. The thing about the group is I can lock them to where these aren't movable now. I can't move my notes. I can make them invisible if I want to turn them off because I got something else going on. Or I can delete them. So I'm going to create a group for each one. Now I got my vertical lines, create group, rename group, lines. You just drag and drop your other items that you want grouped into there. Now all my lines are in that one. It declutters everything because you'll have a whole bunch of trash over here. If you've got a screen like I do with, well, you saw it, all that stuff on there, this is a handy way to manage that and cut your time in trying to, work out where all that stuff goes and which ones you want to see. You can just go over here and say, I need this, this, and this. So rectangles, create group, rename group, boxes. Okay. Then I'm going to add. Yeah, Mooncakey, it makes, saves a lot of time, especially when I was doing DR, because you've got so many different boxes and lines you got to have for the retracement times, the retracement areas, extension times, all of that stuff. The templates, I'll go back over in just a second. And then my last one would be my lines. So I'm going to create a group for that. I'm going to push the other line into the group. And I'm going to rename the group H lines. Okay. So now that everything is grouped, I can manage the groups. I can add things to them. I can lock them all down. A lot of times when I'm charting, I don't want my boxes and stuff to move when I'm going to slide the screen. I'm sliding the screen a lot, and I'll accidentally grab something and I'll pull it across the screen. Well, my fix for that is just to hit the back button, because that puts it back exactly where it was. I don't have to remember what candles I had it matched up on. If you just hit the back button, if you move something you weren't supposed to, it'll put it right back where it was. But if I want to get rid of all my boxes too, I can just, I can go over here and click this and hide them. All I need is my lines for whatever I'm doing. Or if I want my boxes and I want to hide my lines, it's that quick. I want to get rid of my notes, get rid of my notes. So as you develop and grow, you'll find yourself doing a lot more charting, a lot more examining, a lot more back testing, and there's just no way around it because it's what makes you better. And if I don't tell you to do it, if you want to get better, you're still going to go do it yourself because you recognize the importance and you recognize the benefits. This is a way to make that easier for you to get in there and make a lot of annotations, comments, measurements, boxes, or whatever, and then handle them over here as opposed to individually. So that's really all this is for. And you can have quite a bit of stuff in here. The trick is when you switch from one layout or time frame to another, you'll get what you had on that other layout or time frame. Let me see if I can do that here, depending on which one I click. So it's the same items, but the grouping is different. So watch what happens when I switch from one chart to the other. Okay, so on one chart I have the drive icon. On one chart I don't have the drive icon. Since we have all the exact same information, it's still there. It wouldn't be hard to put missed lines, boxes. Yeah, I guess the only thing it's moving is that Yeah, pretty much. So if they're pretty similar, then switching back and forth won't be an issue. Oh, give me 1 second. I forgot to add time to my kid's Xbox. I'm in trouble. There we go. Okay. I'll tell him I added time. Added. Okay. So you'll figure out a lot of this, the little nuances as you're working through it. I'm just showing you kind of a broad overview, and letting you know that you will run into some issues here. Turn this shit down. Sometimes moving between different layouts or different time frames and charts, things like that. If you have one chart all marked up, and that's why it's a good idea to keep these synced up, because it makes this a lot easier. So we created this stream. If we wanted to have another one, and we created a new chart for something else, you would basically be back to, it looks like it keeps your canvas settings. Like we didn't have to change the candle color this time, but the icons are still there. So you would just have to kind of start over. It puts you in a pretty simple place to do it. You just reload your indicators. All this stuff stays the same over here. All this works the same over here. So, and then you can name this one, back testing or something. And it's handy to just be able to have these tabs up here, and that's why I recommend the app. And it's a lot easier than using browser tabs, I figured. So I tried the app at first, or trying to do it through Chrome, and it really sucked. And once I got it like this, I'm never going back. So I can't really think of a ton much. Here's your screenshots up here, this little camera. You can download images. Here's the full screen mode. Same chart setups as you would get if you right clicked on the charts. Chart settings tool. I guess replay. We can go over replay real quick. Templates. So the templates work like this. Real quick, go back over that. Anything you make, anything you make that you want to save as a template, you just can either do it from right here, save drawing template as, and if you do it as a box, it'll know you're in boxes. If you do it as a line, it'll know you're in lines. So this is all the different boxes I have, but if I go and I click on one of my lines, then it knows which lines I have. So it automatically goes to the item you have selected and gives you the templates that you created for that specific item. So if I want to save this as something, once I get it, I'm using it as my fair value gap box, to put in here, and I don't want to have to keep drawing it. And I want one that's bearish and one that's bullish. So I already made this one, and let's say I want one that's bullish now. I would want it to be green, right? I don't like that green. I want to make it a little darker. Make it a little darker. Okay, now this box I want to save. I want this to always come up when I do my fair value gaps. So I would go save drawing template as fair value gap bullish test. Save it. And now if I go to just draw a box, I go up here and it'll be in here, fair value gap bullish test. And it gives me everything that I've already configured in that box. So you can do that with lines, boxes, anything. And every time you click up here, then you still have to go make the item, but then you pick your template and it'll apply all the information to that specific box. So does that answer your question, Yama? I'm assuming so. Go back and I'm going to get rid of that, and that. Turn that off. Now I'm back to a blank chart. I want to use replay. So up here is the replay, where wherever you click, it puts this little scissors line up here, and wherever you click, it's going to move the start time to that bar right here. You still pick the time frame that you want to replay it on, and then you can set the speed of how fast it replays. So right now I'm at 3 times speed. If you just click the play button, it's going to go through 3 times speed and show you how price developed. And you can backtest using this. Like right there, I would stop. I would say, okay, I've got a fair value gap. I've got sort of a breaking structure. I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw my box. I'm going to go set my template for bullish fair value gap test. And then I'm going to continue. And I'm going to see how price reacts to this. And I'm going to record all of this. That's basically what backtesting is. It's a little clunky on TradingView. So say I want to look at this, I want to measure, okay, what was my gain? I'll take it from there to there. There was 6 points. So am I the silver bullet kid or what? I mean, I just went out there and just grabbed that fair value gap and found a 6-point winner. That's awesome. But that's how you kind of use the tools together as you're backtesting. You're in replay mode. You're waiting to see, you know, and doing this gets you, it's because it's faster than actual price. If you can spot a quick fair value gap market structure, get your box drawn before price comes back to it, you know, you're doing good. And you want to be going through and just testing yourself. A lot of it is just to get your muscle memory down. But this is the feature. You can kind of do it without cheating, because when you see it, you're calculating over here, even though you're not paying attention to it. You see the gap. You know there's a fair value gap over here. If you want to do it as close to the actual market forming as possible, then the replay feature works. Say I want to go back a little bit more, I would just click this back button and I would jump to, and it'll take me back to here. I don't like that price action. I want to go back a little farther to say here, and now I can start over. You can go slower, you can go faster. If I want to go forward, this is forward by forward click, so you can click it and stop, because a lot of times at 3x speed or faster it'll go too fast and you might miss something, so you can just sort of click it through yourself, candle by candle. And then this is jump to real-time chart, which takes us basically to the end. So you can also buy and sell on here. I haven't used that a lot, but say we go to the 1 minute. Go back to here. Come down. All right, I'm going to play it. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to do a buy. I'm going to start it. And it tracks your money for you, lets you know where you would have been, you know. Just a way to kind of paper trade. And they added this relatively recently. They didn't have the buy portion of it when I first got it, so anyway, you can sell, you can buy, you can flatten your position, and it'll just track what you would have made in money. So that's replay. Some people will play it faster and get it from one point to the other, you know, like through the Asia session, or you can just use the, you can always go back and start over. Click it. Anytime you right click and do reset chart view, it takes you back to your latest day. But then you won't be able to move it like you want to, so you have to do that, and then you can move it again. Some weird stuff about that. If anybody knows a better way to do that, let me know. Alright, so that's pretty much TradingView in a nutshell. There's a lot of stuff down here. If you're using a broker or you want to paper trade, you can set up your paper trading account down here by clicking on paper trading, connect. And you can go in then and reset. Okay. Paper trading. That looks a little different than what I'm used to seeing. I haven't used this in forever. Trading settings, no. Summary reporting, no. Balance. Well, might have to Google that one. There's a way to change the amount that you're paper trading with, but it's not letting me do it easily. There used to be a
It's
thing that
supposed
said,
to be right there where you're looking, but I don't see it there for some reason.
yeah, maybe now you have to, oh, it's new. So you have to create a paper trading account. There you go. So, test. And here's where you put your money in it, and you can get it to where it'll actually pull your commissions out and do all of that stuff for you. So now I got a $100,000 paper trading account, and this will add and subtract to that account as I'm paper trading. So kind of a neat thing to do, before you get started, to go ahead and, like, you can set up like templates for different paper trading accounts. So if I want to have one where I started with 5,000, I got my kid, or I want another one for 10,000, then I can do all that here. So okay, does anybody have any questions? I went through it at a fairly brisk pace, but I think the information is pretty easy, and the icons are well marked to kind of show you. And once you get your favorites and stuff set up, then you're off. So no questions. If there's no questions, I think I'm probably done. Crickets, yeah. A couple people typing. No questions. Oh, fib layout. Let's do fib layout. Good question. I would have missed that. So for the Fibonacci, here's your fib. You can template it also, and the same thing. So you have your ways. I like right click or double clicking on it better to bring up my settings. You can measure a lot of different things on this. If you just want the 50%, you can get rid of everything else. And there's your 50% for just looking for equilibrium on something. So you can save this. I already got one, but you would do save as, and you'd save it as 50%. Then, when you click your fib, you just go up here to your templates button, grab your 50%, and then when you fib it, it's already in whatever it is you want to cover. So for my 50%, I don't know why I have these ugly, ugly colors and stuff, but that's that. And then say I want to do, I had a separate one for DR and IDR that had some standard deviation stuff in it. So that's this one. It would give me standard deviations from a point. Don't use it anymore. Main, I think main is just the stock, what it comes with stock. Colors suck. Well, I used to be on a dark screen too. I haven't changed these over yet, but here's your OTE 61 to 79. Here's your equilibrium. So different settings you can use for your fib, and then all you do is you just go in and configure it. You can draw it, double click, find. A lot of times people will hold up their screenshot and say, here's my fib settings, and this will mirror this right here, and you just go in and change it to whatever they had and then fix your colors or whatever. If you put the trend line in there, it gives you this line right here. If you want to, do something with it. I don't use it much, so get rid of that. You can use prices, levels, percents. You can flip it if you have one that starts at 0 and goes to 100. You can either pull it backwards or you can put it up there and then flip it by doing stuff like this. And then again, whatever you want to do, you just save as. If you ever just get totally lost, just go apply defaults and it'll put it back. So my favorite fib layout is probably just that one that I use, day to day. That one right there. So I made it to where I never have to flip it. I've got my percentages. The 21% down here is equal to the 79% up here. So if I'm pulling one backwards, I still know that my OTE is in this area right here. So I just didn't want to have to worry about the flips and all that stuff. Everything is from 0 to 100. How do you screenshot your settings? I use you can make a screenshot of your screen up here. So, but when I'm trying to show somebody myself, like if they're wanting to know my indicator settings or something, say I've got this, and they want to know what those settings are, I use the little screen capture tool from Windows, and I just take a screenshot. That saves it automatically for me in a folder called screenshots, and then I'll just go upload it, or it's on my clipboard right now and I can just paste it in. But again, you can use this too, but I don't know if it captures stuff that's, oh, let's see. We'll do the same thing. We'll put that on there, and we'll do a, yeah, see, that disappears as soon as you click this. So you'd want to use some third-party snipper tool or something. Okay. All right. If that's not it, I'm going to cut it short. We went about an hour and a half, so this will be, we'll put this in education somewhere in tools, and then obviously if you guys have any other questions or whatever, you can hit me up and I'll try to answer them. Excellent. Okay. You got it all, Shannon? Shannon.